Green Arrow, issue 7, Legacy 340. Joshua Williamson writing with Carmine DJ Domenico and Trevor Hairsign on the art. This was you, Matt, so you take it away.
Yeah, so, this was supposed to be a mini series. And famously wasn't digging the whole Ollie fighting his way back through time and whatever to find his family. And it ended all up being Merlin and his machinations to keep him away from his family. But this issue is Ollie coming back and finding out, everything that he's missed since, and how all these other heroes are doing different things. And so the I always mess this up. Gio Domenico, the art is fantastic. Like, big fan of his on Flash and other spots that we've seen. Him drawing Green Arrow it's a good look, I will say. But it starts with this really cool layout of Ollie through different times and how he's always been on the Justice League, right? And he was there from the beginning. And that's where he met Canary. It's where he's made friends. And he says, I even used to bankroll it at one time. And he pulls up in his new car that he's got since he's been back to the Hollow Justice, and it's empty, right? And he's trying to figure out what's going on with the Justice League. So he goes and talks to Bruce, and Bruce is like, yeah, no, we have a lot of stuff going on. We had to disband it, and everything. Him and, of course, Bruce have words because they don't ever get along. He goes over to check with Clark, and Clark's telling him about Luthor and how Luthor's in jail and has left the company to him, and now it's Supercore, which Ollie's like, well, that's weird, but all right, whatever. Well, tell me about Waller, right? So that sends him to talk to Diana, and she's on the run from the Axe people. So she's in her invisible jet. Ollie's in one of his, aero jets, and they're talking over the comms about, what's going on with her. And don't forget that Waller has Roy, right? That's where issue 6 ended. So he's also trying to figure out where Roy is. And Ollie goes to check with all these other members of the Justice League. He goes to Black Adam, who doesn't remember him, which is quite funny. And, Arthur has his daughter, and he goes to talk to Barry because him and Barry are friendly. And he's like, oh, I'm taking a break right now. And everyone's kind of being dismissive until he goes and talks to Hal. And so this is where, because it's Trevor Hairsign also on art, so the Hairsign art takes over. And it stops looking as good as the Gio Domenico, but they're overlooking these planes landing, and Hal's talking about how everything's complicated right now. And this is when I realized that this issue is just basically Williamson giving a rundown of all the stuff that's been going on in the DC universe, which seems like a chore to read, but the way that he has Ollie reacting to everything kind of makes it worth it. And Hal even points out to Ollie, he's like, you're doing all this for your family, but out of everybody, you're the one that was kind of like the freewheeling bachelor. I never took you as a family man. Back in the day, you always teased me and Carol of having a kid flying around, and they are talking about these different, the different lanterns. Like, if they had a kid, what would they call them? And then Ollie brings up Teen Lantern, and Hal just kind of off the cuff, and it also shows that how, I forgot Teen Lantern was a character, right? And Hal's just like, yeah, she was more Simon and John's sidekick. So it's kind of, super dismissive, but they get a call that, let's see, who's going on. There's some rogue Kuns that are coming into the airspace, so they get the Green Lantern and Green Arrow back together, which leads to a really nice page of them, all bathed in green light. And then Ollie goes back to his little hideout. There's a red sky, which is very curious because, red skies seem to be the sign of a crisis. But he's talking to Connor Hawk about everything that's been going on, and it's still not sitting right with with him that he can't track down Waller. Like, for someone that's always got her hands in everything, the fact that she made a deal with Merlin and she's in hiding where she's so far under the radar, it's not sitting well with him, and he feels that she has something to do with Roy, because he goes, if we find Roy, we'll find Waller. And over his hideout that he's at, there's this, like a skylight, and you can see this figure that looks like they're wearing a cape. So you're like, oh, is this Batman? Is this, any number? Is this Vertigo? Any number of Green Arrow guys? And it's not. And you just, it goes into a full page, and it's onomatopoeia, and just saying crash. And that's where the issue ends. But yeah, it's one of those issues. It's just, what's going on in the DC universe right now, but it's also Ollie talking with all of the Justice League and getting a beat on everything, which is kind of nice from where we were. There's no time jumping. I prefer Green Arrow when it's a lot more grounded, and this was it. Despite just being kind of a whip around the DCU issue, and not so much. Not a lot of character interactions, or not interactions, not a lot of character plots or anything. But seeing Onomatopoeia show up at the end is pretty exciting. I mean, that is a villain that is pretty unique, and we only really see with Green Arrow. Like, I think is it a Kevin Smith creation? Because I think I remember him showing up in one of the Kevin Smith Batman books. But since then, I haven't seen Onomatopoeia. So, but yeah. Art is really good when Shea Domenico. It's fine when it's hair sign. Like, again, that Green Lantern, Green Arrow, them going off to deal with the rogue aliens, looks pretty nice, but still, hair sign's a taste thing for me. But the Gio Domenico art really is a highlight of this one. So I'll give this a 7 out of 10.
All right, cool. So you liked it more than...
Yeah, it's better than what we've read. I will up to that point. Well, me. It's better than the first 6 issues, I feel, just because of what it's doing, and I don't know how much longer it can keep going unless we get an Ollie versus Waller, showdown soon. It just kind of feels like it's waiting, right? Like waiting through the waters of the DC universe.